So, Mr. Sibang, Chapter 1, Force, ICSA Class 10th MCQs Physics. Question number 1. Moment of force is dash proportional to distance of point of application of force and fulcrum. So, what should be the answer?
So B directly.
Directly. Because moment of force. So, for example, if this is a point and this is the line of action of force, this is the line of action of force. Then moment of force would be the perpendicular distance between this fulcrum. And this would be the perpendicular distance. Mr. Sibang, any doubt?
No doubt.
So that is why the formula is force. This would be the force. This would be the force. This would be the force. And this, always remember, this is the line of action of force. And you need the perpendicular distance between this line of action of force and the fulcrum. You can call it the fulcrum or the axis, whatever you want. So this would be, moment of force would be equal to the magnitude of force into this perpendicular distance. Perpendicular distance. So moment of force is proportional to distance of point of application of force and fulcrum. It will be directly. Any doubt, Mr. Sima?
No doubt.
Okay. Question number 2. Lesser the force applied, dash is the moment of force.
So B lesser.
Shabash. Clockwise movement are considered to be
So negative.
clockwise. Always remember, of course, you will do this in class 11th also. You can remember like this, that angles are measured positive in anti-clockwise direction. Any doubt, Mr. Siva?
No doubt, sir.
So this is a positive angle, while this is a negative angle. This seems to be a bit counterintuitive at first, but that is how angles are measured. And that is how the movement can be considered positive, that in this direction, it will be considered positive. Question number 4. Dash moments are considered to be positive.
So anti-clockwise B.
Shabash. For equilibrium, dash sum of moments is equal to dash sum of anti-clockwise moments.
So B.
Okay. See, Mr. Sibang, the moments have positive and negative signs depending on directions. So, for example, we have just defined that, if the moment of force is like this would be positive, and if the moment of force is like this would be negative. So whenever you are calculating the moments of force, you'll have to take into consideration the sign of the moment of force also. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So for example, let us take a very simple case that you would have done numericals also. So for example, this is a meter scale that you take, and this is the axis. Then you put some weight here, and you put some weight here. Yeah. Now, this would have a moment of force like this, and this would have a moment of force like this. Now this, because this is a anti-clockwise direction, so that is why the moment of force here would be positive, and the moment of force here, because this is clockwise direction, this would be negative. There is any doubt?
No doubt.
Let us assume the moment of force here is m1, so this would be m1, positive m1. This, let us consider this to be m2, this would be negative m2. Have you understood what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And the sum of the moments of force, the sum would have to be algebraic, for a simple reason that we require the sign also to be there. So if this has to be in equilibrium, this meter scale has to be equilibrium, this m1 has to be equal to m2. Mr. Sibang, any doubt?
No doubt, sir.
So this is the principle on which you do all the numericals which are based on the meter scale. Mr. Sibang, do you remember?
Yes, sir.
That the sum of the moments is equal to 0. Okay, great. Let's go to the next question. Question 6. Weight of the object lies at the
So at the center of mass. Or center of gravity.
center of gravity. Any doubt about this?
No doubt.
See, Mr. Sibang, mass and weight. So usually whenever we take small objects, just try to understand, because the size is small, the center of mass and the center of gravity is the same. Any doubt?
No doubt, sir.
Same. But I'll just give you a hypothetical example, that the body is so large that throughout the body, even the gravity changes. Have you understood what I've said?
Yes, sir.
See, in class 11th, class 12th, you'll understand how gravity can change from one location to another. There would be a full chapter on this. So in this case, this won't be true, what you have said in question number 6. Have you understood what I've said?
Yes, sir.
The center of mass won't be equal to the center of gravity. You will do this in detail in class 11. But right now, what you can remember is, because you are dealing with small objects, the center of mass and the center of gravity are the same. And the weight of the object lies at the center of gravity. Any doubt?
No doubt, sir.
It's okay. Question number 7.
The CG of a regular object would lie dash.
Mhm.
So it would lie inside the body. See.
Okay, it would lie inside the body. So to understand this question in detail, let us take few examples. Let me take this to be a disk. Let me take this to be a ring. This is a ring. Can you visualize this?
Yes, sir.
This is a ring, and this is a. Let us assume this is a. Okay, I'll start from here and start explaining the next things from here. Now in disk, the center of gravity would be the center. Any doubt about this?
No doubt.
When I take a ring, this would be the center of gravity. Any doubt?
No doubt, sir.
Now this disk has some width also. This width will look something like this. Have you understood what is a disk?
Yes, sir.
So this, if you see it from this side, this disk would look something like this. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So basically, this has some width also. Now, I hope you understand now that for a disk, the center of gravity would lie inside the body. Any doubt?
No doubt, sir.
But for a ring, if this is a ring, now for a ring, the center of gravity would lie here, where nothing is present. Have you understood this?
True, sir. Yes, sir.
So basically, this is outside the body. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Now, basically, if you have understood till here also, you'll understand that if B and C both are okay, then actually the answer should be D.
Yes, sir. All of it.
Have you got the logic as per the MCQ logic?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, let me try to explain this on the body. Now, let me take a very, 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 very thin plate. Have you understood? Very, very thin plate.
Yes, sir.
This would be the very, very thin plate. You understand that this is a rectangular plate. This would be the center of gravity. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
But this rectangular plate is considered to be very, very thin. So the width, this width is negligible. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Width is negligible. Again, we are going in a bit detail just to understand, so that this helps in class 11th and 12th also. So here the center of gravity lies at the center, but because the width is so small, we'll have to say that the center of gravity lies on the body. Have you understood what I said?
Yes, sir.
If you haven't understood, still it is okay. Whenever you see that two options are okay, then anyways D has to be okay. So this and this, the final answer would be D. Any doubt?
No doubt, sir.
See, just remember in ICSEI class 10th MCQs, you have to choose only one option only, unless until they have specified that there are two choices. Any doubt about this?
No doubt, sir.
But this won't happen when you go for the 12th class competitive exams, because there more than one choice would be there, just to confuse you. Anyways, let's move on to question number 8. The center of gravity of regular object will depend upon.
Sir, D.
Okay, let us try to understand distribution of mass. What is the second choice?
So volume of the body.
What is the third choice?
Density of the body.
See, in center of gravity, I'm focusing on the weight. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, because I'm focused on the weight, I'm focused on mg. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Any doubt about this?
No doubt.
Now, what does a regular object means? Just try to understand. Try to look at this sphere. Now, this sphere can be regular or it can be irregular. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
When they say that this is a regular sphere, what they are trying to tell you is that the mass is distributed regularly all over the sphere. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
But if this is considered to be an irregular sphere, what you need to understand is that there is an option. Yeah, there might be a possibility that more mass is here rather than here. Have you understood what I've said?
Yes, sir.
So if this is a sphere that we are dealing with, where more of the mass is concentrated on the left side rather than the right side, this would be considered to be an irregular sphere. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Now coming back to center of gravity, the center of gravity is dependent upon weight, which is dependent upon mg. This is a small object. This is a small object. So gravity won't change. The only thing that center of gravity is proportional is the mass. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So in short, I'm not concerned about the volume. I'm not concerned about the density. I'm just concerned about the distribution of mass. Any doubt?
No doubt.
So the answer would be A part. Any doubt?
No doubt.
So we are going into detail so that in higher classes also you don't face any problem. So question number 9. Uniform circular motion has.
So uniform circular motion has a constant speed and variable velocity.
Shabash. For a simple reason that this is a circular motion. So for example, let us assume you have this string and you have a stone, and the stone is moving like this. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
See, we have understood in detail that at any point on this circular track, the direction of motion of the stone will vary. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So anyways, the velocity will keep varying, but the magnitude of speed, or simply speed, or you can say magnitude of velocity. This would be constant. Have you understood what I've said?
Yes, sir.
So if you haven't understood, let us take a simple example. Let us put a number on this. So the stone is moving with a constant speed of 5 meters per second, but at every point, the direction of the stone is tangential to the path. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So that is why you are absolutely correct that the constant speed is there, which is 5 meters per second, but variable velocity is there. Any doubt, Mr. Sigma?
No doubt.
Great, sir. Question 10.
So question number 10. Uniform linear motion has B.
Okay. So when we are dealing with uniform linear motion, so linear motion is a motion in single direction. Let us assume a road, or let us assume a very thin road. So your car can move only in this direction or in this direction. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So in this case, when you are dealing with uniform linear motion, the linear motion, if it is uniform, it has to be single direction and constant speed. So A is the correct answer. B is the correct answer. Constant speed and constant velocity. Mr. Sivang, any doubt?
Yes, sir. So velocity is a vector quantity.
Yes, sir. So you have speed, you have velocity. So speed, so for example, 5 meters per second. This is called the magnitude. And velocity, 5 meters per second towards north. This would become magnitude, and this will become direction. Mr. Sivang, any doubt?
Yes, sir.
Any doubt?
I'm sorry, no, sir.
Yeah. So that is why this would be scalar. This would be vector. And another thing that we have discussed during this lecture is mass, weight. So similarly, mass would be scalar and vector is weight, for a simple reason that weight is given by mg and g is 9.8 meter per second square, defined as acceleration due to gravity. And because this is acceleration, this has become a vector. Mr. Sivang, any note?
No, sir.
Great, sir. So question number 11.
As body moves in a circular path, inward taking force is called centripetal force. D.
Shabash. D. So again, the stone example, when I'm moving this stone towards in this direction, I have to put a centripetal force, otherwise the stone won't move. Mr. Sivang, any doubt?
No doubt, sir.
Now you can understand this very simply, that if you are not applying the centripetal force, then the stone will
fly off
tangentially. Any doubt?
No doubt.
But let us say, for example, try to understand. Let us say that you have the stone and you are moving this in a circular track. So you are applying centripetal force. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
But then there is a little ant on this. Have you understood? A little ant on the stone. Have you understood?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The ant will feel a force. That force is called the
centrifugal.
Shabash. That is called the centrifugal force. Centrifugal force. And this centrifugal force is also called
Pseudo
force. So now what you need to understand is, because question 12 is based on this, so I'm going in a bit detail. You can have few kinds of pseudo force. One of the pseudo force that you are dealing with right now is centrifugal force. There are some other kind of pseudo forces also. So this is what do you call this? Would be class. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So for example, in biology you have a class, and then there are various types of it. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So pseudo force is a class, and centrifugal force is a type of pseudo force. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Any confusion?
No doubt, sir.
So that is why question number 12, when a body moves in a circular path, outward force is called a, what would be the best answer?
The pseudo force.
See, that is what I'm trying to tell you, that this force is centrifugal force. Pseudo force can be of different types, and centrifugal force is the force. Centrifugal force is a kind of pseudo force which only happens when you are moving in a circular path. Have you understood what I've said?
Yes, sir.
So because it is a circular path, the answer would be centrifugal force.
B. Okay, sir.
Because pseudo force can be due to some other reasons also, and I'm skipping the other reasons. There are other kind of pseudo forces also. You can Google if you want. Any doubt, Mr. Sivang?
No doubt.
Okay. Question number 13. Longer the size of the key.
D.
Shabash. For a simple reason that basically you can understand like this, that if you have a sort of a wrench like this, let us assume this is a rough diagram of this is used to tighten nuts. Yeah. So for example, if you can have two examples. One is a truck driver and the other is a watch mechanic. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Now, a truck driver is dealing with large forces, so he will want this to be very long. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
He will want this to be very long. But a watch mechanic, he is dealing with very small forces because he has to tighten very small nuts. So he will want this to be very small. Have you understood what I've said?
Yes, sir.
So he'll want this. You can call this to be a lever. The lever that a watchmaker wants is very small. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
And all these considerations depend upon the basic formula we learned in the beginning of the lecture. That is moment of force, which is equal to the force into the perpendicular distance. So this is the critical factor which decides. Mr. Sivanganidam.
No doubt.
See, if you see question number 14, now you'll get the answer. What will be the answer?
Sir, A.
Shabash. So Mr. Sivang, question number 15. Can a couple pair of forces keep the body in equilibrium? Okay, let us try to understand this question. And the most simplest way to understand this question would be the tap. Have you understood what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So if you have seen an old-fashioned tap, it looks something like this. There is a handle here, and then you have this where the water flows. Have you understood what I said?
Yes, sir.
So this part is what I've drawn here. Okay. Now a couple is defined as equal and opposite forces. So this would be F, and there is a distance 2d between them. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
This would be the axis. Now please remember that the formula of couple will be F into 2d. Now just remember this, that d is a distance from the axis. So if you have already been given this to be, let us say, 10 centimeter, then don't take twice of 10 centimeter. Have you understood what I've said?
Yes, sir.
It is like you in maths, they might give you radius and they might give you diameter also. So you need to remember whether you are dealing with diameter or radius whenever you have to calculate the area. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Because PR square is also equal and PD square by 4 is also equal. Have you understood what I've said?
Yes, sir.
Now, after this small discussion, let us try to understand this question. Can a couple? So basically what it is saying is that you are taking a couple. A couple implies that you already have two forces, one force here and another force here. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Because two forces will make a couple. Any doubt, Mr. Sima?
No doubt, sir.
Now please try to understand, can a pair of forces keep the body in equilibrium? So if you are providing two forces on this axis, so this won't be in equilibrium. Have you understood what I've said?
Yes, sir.
But then let us assume that this is one couple. Yeah. If you want to understand this in detail, this is one couple. But then you have another couple which is like this. Have you understood what I said?
Yes, sir.
Now this another couple is C2. Now because C1 minus C2 is equal to 0 and C1 is equal to C2, if you have two couples, then the body would be in equilibrium. Have you understood what I said?
Yes, sir.
Or I've made the things complicated?
No. Yes, sir.
So question number 15, can a pair of forces keep the body in equilibrium? Another thing that you need to understand about equilibrium, and this will become very important, is equilibrium means that there is no rotational motion, there is no translational motion. Have you understood what I've said?
Yes, sir.
So for example, in the example of this tap, what I'm trying to tell you is that neither will there be, if this is an equilibrium, neither will there be a rotational motion and neither will there be a translational motion. It is not as if the tap will move in the left, right, forward, reverse direction. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So what equilibrium means always is, just try to understand in this chapter, equilibrium means, so if this is a seesaw, equilibrium will mean, please try to understand, this is a ground on which this seesaw is there. Equilibrium will mean that there is no direction either in this direction or this direction. So there is no rotational motion. This part is clear?
Yes, sir.
No rotational motion. Another part that has to be clear is that there is no translational motion. What is a translation motion? It implies that the seesaw can't go in this direction or this direction or this direction or this direction. Have you understood?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Because there might be a possibility, just try to understand, there might be a possibility that there is no rotational motion. This part is not moving. But then somebody comes and picks up this whole of the seesaw with this pivot and plants it here. Have you understood what I've said?
Yes, sir.
Now, in this case, you will have a translational motion. Any doubt, Mr. Siva?
No doubt, sir.
So, equilibrium means lack of or zero translational as well as rotational motion. Any doubt, Mr. Siva?
No doubt, sir.
Again, in higher classes, you'll understand there is something called vibrational motion also that you will study in 11th class. So equilibrium would mean would mean there is no translational, no rotational, no vibrational. Mr. Sibang, any doubt?
Yeah, no, sir.
Great, sir. Question 16.
So center of gravity is dash when it is a hollow cone. So it is B, lower towards the base.
Lower towards the base. So let us understand this. This is a hollow cone. This is a hollow cone. Let us assume that this is a full. Assume that this is made up of, let us say, iron. Then intuitively, what we can understand is that we will understand that the center of gravity would be something around here. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But if you are dealing with a hollow cone, you are dealing with this hollow cone. Hollow cone implies that you have a, let us say, I'll take an example. Let us say this is a cone made of iron sheet. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Now, for full, we can intuitively understand that the center of gravity would be towards the base. But the question which is being asked is, for a hollow cone, would it be towards this side? So, for example, if this was a full, then the center of gravity would be here. Now, what we need to understand is, the question is that will the hollow cone, the center of gravity will shift up or it will shift down? Have you understood the question?
Yes, sir.
There seems to be any doubt.
No, sir.
There seems to be some doubt. Because see, what you need to understand is, as long as it is full, let me mark it like this. See, as long as it's full, then the things are very obvious. कि हाँ यार, ये जो है इसका center of gravity यहाँ पर होगा. Then it is pretty obvious. But यहाँ आके we need to think about this. कि center of gravity, if full का center of gravity यहाँ पर है, so if we are dealing with a hollow cone, will it move up or will it move down? Have you understood the problem?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So to understand this, just try to understand this sheet. This easy, not difficult one. So as we have discussed, solid cone, the center of gravity would lie a bit towards the base. And what you can memorize is that this is the center of gravity of a solid cone, which is equal to h/4. What is h? H is the height of the cone. Mr. Subhan, have you understood?
Yes.
But if I take a hollow cone, then the formula is h/3. Have you understood?
Yes.
Now, why h/4 and why h/3? You will understand this in class 11th growth. Any doubt?
No doubt.
But just for our class 10th sake, what you need to remember is that if I assume the height to be 12 centimeter for both the cones, have you understood?
Yes, sir.
For both the cones, if the height is assumed to be 12 centimeter, yeah, the center of gravity of a solid cone would be 3 centimeter. This would be 3 centimeter. And this, if I take a hollow cone, this would be 4 centimeter. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that if this was a solid cone, the center of gravity would be somewhere here. But then, if this becomes hollow, the center of gravity will move here. Mr. Sibang.
Yes, sir.
Still any doubt?
No doubt, sir. No doubt.
Yeah. So, for a hollow cone, the center of gravity will move up, or it will get raised from the base. Any doubt?
No doubt, sir.
So let's come back to the question. The center of gravity, when it is a hollow cone, the answer is, what should be the correct answer, Mr. Sibang?
It's raised from the base.
Sabas. Question number 17. Now, in question number 17, the center of gravity of a solid and hollow sphere. What do you think, Mr. Sibang?
Center of gravity of a solid, so it would be the same.
It would be the same. Now, see, there is something that you need to understand. That one is that both the spheres are small. What I mean by small is that you are not considering, spheres like Earth. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Because if you consider spheres like Earth, they would be non-uniform. And we have discussed previously in detail what are uniform and non-uniform spheres. Have you understood what I've said?
Yes, sir.
Now, because it is a small sphere, another thing that you need to understand is that we are assuming that both the spheres, they are uniform. The mass is uniformly distributed. Have you understood? Mr. Sima?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Please be clear. Please be very, very clear that the basic assumptions that we make in all these questions, whenever we'll be tackling these questions, would be that the spheres, the mass is equally distributed. Any doubt?
No doubt, sir.
So this is a solid sphere. This is a hollow sphere. But what you need to understand is that the mass is equally distributed. As long as we have small and uniform spheres, the center of gravity would be in the center. Mr. Subang, any doubt?
No doubt, sir.
The things will change if you take large spheres. In large spheres, the gravity at this point and gravity at this point may be different. Mr. Subang, any doubt?
No doubt, sir.
We are not taking large bodies. We are taking small bodies. Great, sir. Great. Okay. Now we have simple questions. Question number 18. How should I do it? Just let me know how should I do it.
Okay, sir. So we have the perpendicular distance and the moment of force. So
Sure.
50 Newton meter is equal to F into 50 centimeter.
Shabash.
We have to convert 50 centimeter into meters. So that would be 0.5 meter.
Shabash. So just remember, which you have correctly pointed out, that sorry, that 50 centimeter has to be converted to meters. This would become half and force would become 100. So the correct answer would be B part. Very nice. Okay. Question 19. Just tell me how to do this.
So we have to convert 9 centimeter to Newton meter. 1 Newton is equal to 10 raised to the power 5 dyne.
Okay, I'll do a bit of conversion so that you understand this well. So see, I have 1 Newton meter. So 1 Newton is mass into acceleration. So this mass into acceleration comes here and this meter comes here. Any doubt?
No doubt.
Now, just try to understand 1 kg is 1000 grams into 100 centimeter. Mr. Sibang, any doubt?
No doubt.
Into 100 centimeter. Any doubt?
No doubt.
So I have 10 raised to power 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 grams centimeter square by second square. Mr. Sibang, any doubt?
No doubt, sir.
See, I think we have taken a bit of a wrong turn. So what we can do is actually, to make things easy, just forget about this. Yeah, just let us try to manage this, and you'll understand what I'm saying in just a minute. So this whole expression, this is 10 raised to power 5 grams centimeter second square into 10 raised to power 2 centimeter. Mr. Sibang, clear till here, or are you confused?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Now this is 10 raised to power 5 grams centimeter per second square is called dyne. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So this will be equal to 10 raised to power 7 dyne centimeter. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So this could have gone a bit confusing. That is why I took this route. This would have been a bit bumpy to explain. This is smoother to explain. So what we are trying to understand is basically that 1 Newton meter is equal to 10 raised to power 7 dyne into centimeter. I'm sorry, dyne into centimeter. Any doubt, Mr. Sibang?
No doubt, sir.
So 10 raised to power 5 dyne centimeter is equal to 1 Newton meter. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So 1 dyne centimeter would be equal to 10 raised to power minus 7, and 10 raised to power 2 dyne centimeter would be equal to 10 raised to power minus 7 into 10 raised to power 2, and this would be 10 raised to power minus 5 Newton meter. Mr. Sibang, any doubt?
No doubt.
Any confusion?
No confusion.
Yeah. So if you want to skip all the understanding, then the basic thing that you need to understand is that 1 Newton meter is equal to 10 raised to power 7 dyne centimeter. Just you can cram this up, you can mug this up. This will help you a lot. And another thing that you need to understand is that 1 Newton is equal to 10 raised to power 5 dyne. Mr. Sibang, any doubt?
No doubt, sir.
Because you are getting MCQs, you won't be asked about the derivation, etc. So it is, if you just want to stick to the basics, then these are the two formulas that you need to understand. Any doubt, Mr. Sibang?
Yes.
Okay. So you'll be able to do this question number 20th.
Yes, sir. 10 raised to the power minus 10 Newton meter is equal to a dash 9 centimeter.
Yeah. So you can calculate the answer would be C part. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Any doubt? Okay. Just go through question number 26. I'll pause the video.
Sure, sir.
So I'll just explain. This is a rectangular thin plate of dimension 3 meter into 4 meter is balanced on the fulcrum as shown above. Find the resultant moment of force. Just try to do this.
Sure, sir.
So Mr. Sibang, are you able to do this? Question number 26.
No, sir. That's not okay.
See, the figure is a bit confusing. Yeah. But what we know is, just try to imagine. So even if the figure is confusing, what we know is that this is 4 meter and this is 3 meter. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So rectangular thin plate, this at least we are clear about this. Yeah. Any doubt till here?
No doubt, sir.
So this figure is confusing. I agree to this. But what we can safely, if we want to do this question, how we can do this question is that this 6 Newton, what he's trying to say is that this 6 Newton is basically what we want is that this 6 Newton is what distance from this fulcrum. Have you understood what I said?
Yes, sir.
We can see that this is the length, and the length is 4 meter. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So by hook or crook, let us assume that the 6 Newton is at a perpendicular distance of 4 meter, and this is making a clockwise movement. Have you understood what I've said?
Yes.
Have you got the logic?
Yes, sir.
So the 6 into 4, because it is clockwise, this would be negative. Any doubt till here?
No doubt.
Similarly, if you look at this force, this is working at this width, and the width is 3 meter. So, and this is making a positive positive moment of force. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So this would be 5 into 3. Have you understood the logic which I followed?
Yes, sir.
See, the figure is confusing. Even I'm not aware how he has done. But at least just to calculate the answer, this would be minus 9 Newton meter. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
And because this is a negative, so the force would be clockwise or anti-clockwise? Mr. Sibang, if there is a negative, the moment of force would be negative or
Clockwise.
positive?
Clockwise.
If there is negative, this is how the moment of force would be like. So our correct answer would be A, B, C, D.
So it would be A.
Correct. So even if it is a confusing question, we can assume certain things that this is what he's trying to say. Just try to, understand from the paper setter's point of view, and you can find a good answer. Okay, question number 27.
So an irregular plane lamina is acted upon by several combination of forces as a lamina in equilibrium.
So what will you say? See, again here, what we can assume is that this is the axis. The moment of force of this force would be, Mr. CB,
So positive.
2 into force. Are we clear? 2 into
Yes,
4.
sir. Yes.
The moment of this force would be,
5 into 2.
would it be positive or negative?
Negative.
Have you understood the approach?
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming that this 3 meter and 8 are perpendicular to each other. So I'm not, going into the nitty-gritty. I'm assuming whatever he's written is as per class 10th syllabus. Yeah. So this distance and the force are perpendicular to each other. This is what I'm assuming. Have you understood what I've said now?
Yes, sir.
So what will be the resultant of this force? The moment of force of this force?
So 8 into 3.
And it will be?
Negative.
So let us find the resultant. 8 minus 10 minus 24. What we are finding is a lamina in equilibrium. So what would be the answer?
So it would be so no, B.
No, because there is a net force which is acting. So that is why the answer has to be no. Is there any doubt?
No doubt.
Question 28. Are you able to do this?
Yes, sir.
How should I do this?
So pole vaulter during Tokyo Olympics used a 2.5 meter long rod which weighed 10 kg. For the mass of the pole vaulter was 65 kg. Calculate the moment of force created by pole vaulter.
Yeah, try to do this.
Awesome.
Yes, Mr. CB. Question number 28. Were you able to do it?
So yes, sir.
Okay. How should I do this?
So first of all, we'll multiply 65 and 2.5.
Okay.
And we'll get the moment of force.
Okay. See, there are 2-3 things that we want to discuss in this question. The first thing that I want to discuss is look at the answers. So you'll have answers like kg meter, you'll have answers like Newton meter. Yeah. Now the thing to be observed is that this pole vaulter weighs 65 kg. The mass is 65 kg, and the length of this rod is 2.5 meter. So of course we multiply 65 into 2.5. 65 into 2.5, and the answer that we get is 162.5 kg meter. Yeah. Or
Yes.
if I, with the help of the conversion factor of 10 Newton per meter, if I want to convert this into Newton meter, my answer would be 1625 Newton meter. Have you understood?
Yes.
So the first thing is 162.5 kg meter and 1625 Newton meter. Both the choices are present here. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
So this is the first thing that we want to discuss. The second thing that we want to discuss is, see, if you look closely, he has given us the weight, the mass of the rod also. Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now this mass, see, another way of looking at this question is this mass also would be acting here. Have you understood what I've said?
Yes, sir.
So we need to add a factor of 10 into 1.25 here. Have you understood the logic?
Yes, sir.
Because I'm taking the fulcrum here. So 10 into 1.25. This factor should also be added, which is equal to 12.5 kg meter or 125 Newton meter. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So this should be added to here, and this should be added to here. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So there are few things that I wanted to discuss. Now, as per the answer, again, you have two answers here. Have you understood the discussion?
Yes, sir.
So basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that whenever you're doing MCQs, just keep an eye on the answers also. Have you understood the logic?
Yes, sir.
There would be times when you would be able to see through the question. You'll be able to see more in the question than maybe the paper setter has. So you'll have to manage those. You'll have to manage your inputs in that question. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
So, for example, if you are thinking in these terms, you'll have to ignore these terms for a simple reason that in MCQs you see only 1625, 1625, 1625. So you'll have to curb your enthusiasm, and then you'll have to see कि यार ये तो कुछ काम नहीं कर रहा. Have you got it?
Yes, sir.
So just focus on the contribution of the pole vaulter only. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Because then the question, the examiner might be thinking, boss, I just want to focus on the pole vaulter only. I don't want to focus on the rod. Have you understood the discussion?
Yes, sir.
But this question could very well have been made like calculate the total moment of force. Have you understood? Total moment of force. If he was talking about the total moment of force, then this as well as this would have to be considered. Mr. Siva, have you understood, or this is getting confusing?
No, sir. It is getting clear.
Okay. Try to do this question. Question number 29.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. CB. Question 29.
So question 29 states Karen of mass 45 kg and Geeta of mass 30 kg are sitting on a seesaw at distance 2 meter and 1.5 meter respectively from the center of the seesaw in an amusement park. Is the seesaw in rotational equilibrium? So it means that either side of the fulcrum should be same.
Shabash. So we want rotational equilibrium. So what we want is that this moment of force and this moment of force should be equal. Mr. CB, do we agree?
Yes, sir.
Now Karan is of 45 kg. He is sitting at a distance of 2 meter. And Geeta is a mass of 30 kg who is sitting at a distance of 1.5 meter. Now the moment of force which is generated here would be 30 into 1.5, which is equal to 45 kg meter. Is it correct, Mr. CB?
Yes, sir.
Now the moment of force generated by Karan would be 45 into 2, which will be equal to 90 kg meter. Is it correct?
Yes, sir.
No, because they are not balancing each other. So the seesaw won't be in rotational equilibrium. So you are correct. Mr. CB, any doubt?
No doubt.
Okay. A tap is used to fill bucket of water under a tap. Name the force acting on the tap which produces rotational motion. Mr. CB.
So a tap is used to fill bucket of water under a tap is shown for you. Name the force acting on the tap. So this would be couple. See.
Shabash. Shabash. Equal and opposite force. And this is the tap that I was talking previously. Any doubt, Mr. CB?
No doubt.
So Mr. CB, as discussed before also, this video would be uploaded at is equal to classes Shiva. So here we have already uploaded a lot of videos for ICSA class 10th exams. So you have history, you have Java, a lot of videos here. Yeah. Thank you.